good afternoon or evening, everyone. Welcome to the Beyond the Red Door podcast. I'm your host, Dominick, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Austin Dye. Austin, how are you doing today?
I am doing good. We're recording on a Thursday. I'm ready for the weekend. It's been a busy week, but I'm excited that we're doing this. We're sitting down with Mr. Nick Quarberg here, who we've had on the podcast before, but it's been a little bit. We were looking at the records, and we think we recorded in April of 2023 or something. So it's been a solid almost 2 years. So lots of new stuff, lots of change. But Quarberg, how are you doing here?
I'm good. Like you said, it's Thursday night, so I'm definitely looking forward to the weekend. And I've been getting pretty busy at work, so that's always exciting. But we're getting ready for the baseball season here coming up pretty shortly. But yeah, otherwise I've been pretty busy, and I'm looking forward to sitting down and talking with you guys.
Yeah. So for people that don't know who you are, I guess, talk to us a little bit about, just real quickly, about your SigEp kind of roles, what you were doing as an undergrad, and then kind of where you're at now in terms of even just your job and stuff, so people know you're pretty famous if they watch the previous episode.
I wouldn't use the word famous, but I'll take the
viral.
Yeah. Well, so as an undergrad, I served as chapter president in 2015 because we graduated, or not 2015. Oh my goodness. I'm thinking high school. This is college. I graduated in 2020, so I would have been chapter president fall of 18 into the spring of 19, or into the spring and the fall of 2019. So I served as undergraduate chapter president, and then I guess now I've sort of turned into I took a little step back after we first graduated from college in 2020, and I've kind of rejoined the AVC, not only at Platteville, but also where I am now in Pittsburgh. So I'm currently serving as the chapter counselor for Penn Gamma at the University of Pittsburgh. So that has been a great challenge and a unique challenge in itself. And then I've also, like I said, stepped back into a role with the AVC at Platteville, currently serving on the housing committee. I'm on the board as a member at large, and then I'm also serving as the facilitator of recruitment with you on the committee as well. So that's kind of what I have done post graduation. But like I mentioned, I'm currently living in Pittsburgh, and that's because of my job. So I'm the manager of field events for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So it's kind of an interesting way of how I got here and how I got to where I am in Pittsburgh. But yeah, I did start school as an engineer. I decided to change my major as a sophomore to pursue turf grass management. Really enjoyed it a lot. Had some great experiences during my internships as an undergrad, and then those really led me to where I am today in my role. So very exciting.
Yeah. Again, as we were alluding to earlier, Quarberg has there's a viral video of him trying to catch, what was it, a squirrel, right?
Yeah, it's a squirrel.
A squirrel at a Pirates game. We talked about it in the last episode of the podcast we did, and I think we linked the video somewhere in there, but you got your moment of fame.
Yeah. Whether it be good or bad, but yes, that was quite the adventure, to say the least. And hopefully it doesn't happen again, but we'll see what happens.
All right, so yeah, you give you a little recap there. If you want the more in-depth stuff, you can watch the previous episode. But so we were, like I said, we were talking beforehand. We kind of got you on last time, sometime in that April of 2023, and we were trying to figure out how the timelines worked, because I think we had discussed you were just starting at Pitt with your chapter counselor kind of role. And you and I have kept in contact and talked back and forth about how that's been going and what you've been doing. But talk a little bit about how you got involved with that, and kind of what your role has kind of looked like and shaped into and like evolved into.
Yeah, so I guess the way I got involved would have been I was riding back in my car with my wife Christy, who also I met at Platteville, and she was also in Greek life and heavily involved with Theta Phi Alpha at Platteville when we were undergraduates. But as we were just driving, I think we were driving back from our family Christmas party at her grandma and grandpa's in Michigan, and she had been at the time serving on the National Housing Committee for Theta Phi Alpha, and she had that role, I think, for a couple of years post graduation, and it was just something that I always thought was kind of cool that she had the ability to serve with the national. They are considered a fraternity, so I'm not misspeaking here, but she was able to serve the national fraternity on the national board, so that was really exciting. And I had like stayed in touch quite a little bit with the AVC at Platteville, but I think part of the issue I had was just the distance, so it made it just a little difficult for me to stay connected, I feel like. So I was just talking with Christy, and I was like, hey, maybe I could reach out to a chapter here in Pittsburgh, because I knew we had a couple in the area and a couple in the city for sure, at the University of Pittsburgh and then at Carnegie Mellon University. So what I did was I just on the car ride, I was like, okay, I'll look up the AVC, see what they're up to. They had a Facebook page, and I was able to send an email to their secretary. I just said, hey, like, obviously I'm not from your guys' chapter, but I'm from Platteville. I bring a lot of experience to the table, and I feel like I want to get involved and help you guys out as best as possible. And it actually worked out in my favor that they had an opening for their chapter counselor position. And so I was offered that position by our district governor, Ron Binder, and I did accept the position, and I'm still serving in that role to this day, which I have really, it's been very rewarding. I've appreciated all the people that I met along the way, and it's also been sort of challenging, which is exactly what I signed up for. Especially, I know you guys are used to it since we're at a small university, relatively small chapter. But I think being able to see SigEp and Greek life through sort of a different lens on how it works on larger campuses is very unique, and it's very inspiring to try to be able to work through the problems that may arise, but also find good solutions that benefit the undergraduate members and benefit the chapter as a whole. So
that's a really great way of explaining it. Thank you for that. So I guess when you called and like emailed, signed up, was that something like you just kind of met with him first, or was it initially jumping in right away? Like I guess I'm asking because when I initially kind of came on board for helping out with Madison, it was, here's our list of positions. I don't know you, but here you go. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm signing up for this. Let's run with it. So for me, it was like felt like me throwing to the wolves and everything.
Yeah.
And they, because Madison, I guess, was different in that aspect of they were getting ready to go and everything. So, I guess what was the process like for, after emailing them and everything?
Yeah. So they reached back out. It was about a month later, because I know their secretary is pretty busy. And actually the president, and he's still the president right now, we're actually hopefully hosting elections here in a couple months. But the president does actually not live in the United States. So he works he works. I can't remember where he was when I first started, but I believe he was just most recently to Brazil. And then for his job, he's being relocated to Africa. So there's quite the time difference. And he has a lot of things going on in like his own life too, where he's trying his best to balance, being an AVC president and still maintaining that relationship with the undergraduate chapter and with the AVC members as well. So that was a little bit of a challenge and a little bit of an adjustment. but Rick does a great job, and he's done a great job and has done a lot for the benefit of the Penn Gamma chapter. So, I mean, I give him a lot of credit, especially for like what he does for the fraternity and what he has done and what he continues to do, even though he's not in the country. And then also like the secretary that was on the board when I first started, he has also like moved on from the AVC. So right now we're kind of like in a little bit of, I don't want to say like a holding pattern, but we have a lot of new members on the board who bring, again, just different perspectives that are different from like what we experience on our AVC. So it's always quite interesting to me to attend like both meetings and see like, try to not like necessarily try to figure out what the differences are, but just see how they operate and function differently. Again, kind of goes back to the size of the chapter, the size of the university, and then just kind of like what the style and culture is for each of the organizations. And I think one of my main goals serving as a chapter counselor was to kind of almost not like bridge the gap between like the size of the fraternities, but almost try to take my experiences at Platteville and try to apply them as best as possible here at Pitt to make sure like they're able to succeed in the same ways we succeeded at Platteville, whether it be, even though it could be different than what we were exactly experiencing. But I think my experiences at Platteville as an undergraduate and still serving on the AVC, like definitely give me a good perspective to bring to them. So it's been really good. Our district governor, like I mentioned earlier, Ron Bender, he actually was our district governor when we were at Platt. I think that I can't remember that overlap, but he was definitely, I want to say was he our district governor when we were undergrads, Austin and Don?
I believe
there was
so.
a small time that he was.
Yeah.
I think it was like right at the end of us, because I
That's
remember him coming in. I think it probably was like right as we were being done.
Because I met him like right after he retired.
That's what I thought. Because he was in Iowa and then he ended up moving out here. And he's currently like, he does still teach a couple classes at Pitt Bradford, which is, it's like 2 or 3 hours outside of the city here. But regardless, having sort of that connection, him knowing that I was coming from Platteville definitely helped me a lot. And since it's a position that is appointed by the district governor, I think having that some sort of pseudo relationship with him was good, just going into it, and definitely made the transition a lot easier. So he's been a big help. He's a very good district governor. He's a very active district governor, and that's definitely helped us out a lot. So
for sure. Was there a lot of like obviously you wanted to get involved with an AVC, but was there hesitancy about it, like, or like jumping into like a chapter counselor role? Because like I think for like people that aren't as involved with the AVC, like they probably, like you had just said there, like the chapter counselor role is like kind of separate from. I mean, it is separate from the AVC because it's an appointed position from nationals. They are, I would say, working a lot more with the undergrads on like a day-to-day basis and like handling a lot of those like again, like day-to-day crises or whatever comes up, like they're the go-to person, whereas like once it hits a point where it's kind of needs to involve the alumni, that's when the AVC kind of gets involved. So like again, like did you kind of have any hesitancy about jumping into like that chapter counselor role with like an unknown, or like not an unknown, I guess, chapter, but like a chapter that you were not as familiar with, instead of going towards like more of an ABC based role?
Yeah. So initially, like it was definitely quite the jump from obviously just graduating and like very recently to becoming an alumni and then helping facilitate that relationship between headquarters, between the ABC and between the undergraduates. So that was definitely, I wouldn't say like an obstacle, but it was definitely a big hurdle that I think I wanted and needed to overcome to basically be in this role and I think serve this role well. So what I actually did is when I was offered the position, what I did do was meet with the Nick Quarberg. He was at the time, he was the undergraduate chapter president. So I kind of sat down with him. We had dinner, and I had like 10, 15 questions that I wanted to ask him, basically like outlining, what the culture of the chapter was at the time, where their standing was, what their relationship was with the university, what it was with their current AVC, like currently with the AVC. And the thing that was difficult when I first came in was, again, like I had mentioned, Rick obviously not living in the United States, and to a lot of the alumni not living in the area. So they didn't really have a lot of contact with the AVC outside of like maybe once a semester events, especially around homecoming in the fall. Like they would get a lot of alumni coming back. But in the passing time between that, like they really didn't have, like they did have contact, a little bit of contact with the ABC, but it wasn't like in person. It wasn't personable contact. So I think that was one of the things too that they saw in being able to bring me aboard, but I also saw too in my position that like I would be able to apply that other aspect to have personable relationships with the guys here at Pitt, and then being able to like talk with them, text with them, being able to meet with them like once a month, go to their chapter meetings, go to their exec meetings, make sure like I'm there to help them through a lot of things, I think was good, and has definitely continued to today, and I think has really improved since I've started. And I'm going to keep mentioning, but we're definitely in a better position now than when I started in the position. So I'm very happy with that, and I'm continuing to work to grow the mentorship committee because I know that's a big thing that the national fraternity is pursuing right now, is mentorship, and how important that is in shaping like the lives of our undergraduates. And with how many alumni that we have involved in SigEp, like how easy it is for, I mean, their goal is to have a mentor for every undergraduate member in the fraternity, which it's a lofty goal, but I think it definitely can be reached. But right now, I think my goal, kind of as a facilitator of the mentorship committee and as the chapter counselors, making sure that like all of the executive board members have a mentor to make sure like they're on task and they're on track to achieve their different goals and achieve things as a chapter. So that has been really good.
I like that you highlighted like the relationship that you built with the undergrads, like as a chapter counselor now, and being able to go out there and stuff. Because I think like we saw a big shift too with our chapter counselors for like Wisconsin Theta, like um, when we started having them become like more involved than kind of what they were. Like I think at a time when we were undergrads, like it had gotten to a point where like that chapter counselor had kind of been more like I almost want to say like a liaison between like the
Yeah.
AVC and the undergrads.
Mhm.
And then like as we finished up and like we knew that like Nick Kirby, like he's been on the pod before and he kind of talked about it, but like he had been doing it for so long too that I
Yeah.
think like he was getting to that kind of point where like it was becoming a little more difficult to kind of take on that role, and so like we saw that shift of like he was more hands off and letting the undergrads kind of doing a lot more, and then we hit that point where it was like okay, like we shifted some new people in and kind of were able to make it more of a more, I want to say hands on, like they're more present in the chapter,
Yeah.
and not necessarily just that like kind of liaison role
Hmm.
anymore. And obviously, like Ian Seidler's doing it now, and been killing it with being able to go out there. Like I think he goes out there almost every weekend, is present with the undergrads and helping them out with stuff. So just shows like I feel like the chapter counselor role like gets not as much recognition as it should, for how much that they're actually doing for the undergrad chapters. Um, Okay, so obviously, like so you took on this role. You were kind of you and I had a lot of conversations, like as you were um, more ingrained with with Pitt's AVC and like trying to figure out like
Yeah.
what you want to do with it, because like at that time was when we were doing a lot of like our bylaws revisions and like changing a lot of stuff that we were doing with our AVC. So I was like, well,
Mm-hmm.
perfect time to figure out how to start doing some of that stuff. Um, what have been some of like the biggest like hardships and stuff that you guys have faced with your AVC, or I mean even your undergrad chapter? I know we've had some talks as well about some of the stuff that you've run into,
Yeah.
especially in a bigger chapter. I mean, not and when we had BK on, and BK and Dom were able to kind of talk about their roles with Madison's AVC as
Mm-hmm.
well, like some of the different struggles that the bigger chapters face compared to what like the smaller chapters like have to deal with. It's definitely so many different things. But talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, I think the similarities that I see obviously between like all fraternity or all ABCs, I shouldn't say fraternities, but all ABCs, regardless of the size of like what school they're at, I always feel like over time, like it's like people obviously after college, like they're leaving the university, they're leaving behind, that part of their life where they've been part of the fraternity, they've been part of the campus community for like the last 4 years, and they're obviously just like getting up and leaving and moving, you know, becoming an adult, like post college, whether it be moving into the town that you went to college to, moving back to your hometown, moving across the country, moving across the globe. Like, I think that's one of like the biggest challenges that you just face in general on like in alumni organizations like this is like you're losing your clientele base basically, like once college is done. So I think the hardest thing, I think you could probably attest to this as well. But I think like coming in here at Pitt, obviously I didn't have a lot of connections. I didn't have relationships with guys that were undergrads or guys that were leaving the chapter. So I think one of the hardest things has been like recruiting new members and recruiting people to join the ABC, because obviously like I'm trying my best to do that, but it's difficult when I don't have connections and I don't have relationships with those undergraduate members who have like just recently graduated. So that's been a big obstacle, but I'm trying to overcome that. And I, as I'm moving into my like second 2.5 years here with the ABC. So I've been able to meet people that are alumni that are still in the area and establish those connections. So that has definitely been something that I hopefully can take advantage of more in the future, but also kind of relying on the undergraduates as well to um, kind of guide me and point me in the right directions to guys who probably would have interest in joining the ABC because they were very passionate about it as an undergraduate. And I just don't think like they realized, what impact they could have on the chapter even after they graduate. And they were just very passionate about it as undergraduates. But yeah, like I think one of the biggest obstacles we've faced since I've been on as chapter counselor was um, unfortunately last semester the university suspended us and we were being investigated for claims that were submitted anonymously to the Greek Life office. So they immediately placed us on suspension. Unfortunately, after a very, very long process, I don't want to like get into too much of it, but basically at the end of it, they said that there was no evidence found that supported the claims. They, to my knowledge, didn't really interview anybody or didn't pursue like any leads because there was nothing. So that made me feel really good in my position. And again, like I think this is like the fourth or fifth time, like within the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years that the chapter has been like has had an anonymous report made about them, but every time
That's
like
so weird.
they've been found to be falsified or they've been
Mm-hmm.
like found non-liable, which has just been, it's just obviously super frustrating because I think it also plays back into that negative connotations that are associated with Greek life just in general. Like, right, we're just a bunch of group of guys. We're a bunch of group of girls that all we do is party and drink. Well, that's not what fraternity life, to me at least, is about. That's not, I know, like, you, both of you can attest to this as well. Like, that's not what it's about at Platteville. That's not what it's about at Pitt. Like, we're in this to, one, develop ourselves outside of the classroom, to develop like lifelong relationships with people that we meet during our undergraduate experience, but also it's giving us the opportunity to develop and hone and craft our leadership skills, our communication skills, our time management skills. Like, there is so much more to Greek life than just drinking and partying. Like, unfortunately, people on the outside just don't understand that. And that's a negative aspect to it as a chapter counselor. Like, look, you're going to have to deal with road bumps like this. But it just made me feel very proud at the end of it to know, like, that even though I've been in this position for like almost just over 2 years now, that like I am able to trust these guys, and I know what I'm saying and know what I'm doing is working, because like there's these accusations made and they're found false. So that just makes me feel like I'm doing my job. It makes me feel like I can trust the undergraduates to make sure like everyone is safe. They're living up, they're living their values as SigEps. They're living the ritual. They're breathing the ritual. But overall, just being genuine, like kind human beings. That's the most important thing. So that makes me very proud that I know that we can continue to operate as a fraternity here on a Division I campus, and that like even though these issues are probably going to continue to rise in the future, that I know we're in a good spot and we have the evidence and we have the data that backs us up and makes us cemented in the position we are on a campus. So
Yeah, I mean, I remember having phone calls with you over the summer when you were talking about the situation, how stressful it was, because like it had been open for like a while too. So like you guys were waiting, like you guys couldn't recruit almost going into the fall, and it was like just a whole mess. But again, it's glad that like it got cleared. And it's just crazy to me that people would just submit false accusations. Like, I mean, like obviously that it makes sense that the university has to do an investigation when they get stuff like that. But yeah, it's just like, you know, the fact that people wish that much of a downfall on another Greek chapter is just crazy to me. Going back to what you were talking about with like recruiting, like the recruiting of like alumni and stuff, like I'm curious, Dom, like your guys' perspective in terms of like Madison, because like it's kind of similar, you know, being on a big campus as well, but like you guys are also battling like the, you know, having been off the campus for so long, like you're not necessarily recruiting those guys that are like just finishing up, like you are having to go back and find guys that are still interested and passionate about the chapter from, you know, years ago. So like, do you guys find that it's a pretty similar kind of like process?
Yes and no. So we deal with a lot of things. I think one of the big things, and I can agree with Quarberg especially, is the not being able to have those relationships with like more recent graduates or more like just people that I don't know, because the head of the ABC is BK, and he's doing great, and you know, but the issue is not many people know BK. We have David who as our chapter counselor, and David's doing a phenomenal job. People know David as well, but David's also busy. But the issue is, as well as Madison's been shut down a couple times, I think, if I remember correctly. So there's also that disconnect twice. You have, you know, and we're trying to like get all these, you know, alumni in, and we're trying to like really, really build our alumni network in that sense. But it's really hard sometimes because you don't have that buy-in, and you don't have that, I wouldn't say trust, but you don't just, you know, you don't have those relationships really. And that's a big stress of, because you really want a lot of alumni support. Secondly, you don't have as much alumni support as well because of the big changes within SigEp. And it's not that everyone doesn't like the changes with the BMP or with the dry, no hazing, stuff like that. It's just that they aren't able to help as much. Like, I'm struggling sometimes as the balance man steward because I'm not used to this very free, open, free flex stuff. And so I think having that much freedom is a huge hurdle for me to get over because I'm used to a very well-oiled machine within a very structured environment. So like those are the two big issues that we like as volunteers, especially like I would say that we struggle with at Madison more. So like they definitely align, with Quarberg's, but Madison is a bit more adjusted to Greek life in that way. But getting false claims is just weird. Like, why? I don't know. I feel like it's like, is it college kids being dumb, or is it like someone truly thinking like you can't drink now? Oh, that's hazing. Like so.
There was a couple of other chapters too that had allegations out, right, Quarberg?
Really?
Like, I know you showed me that. Like you showed me a list of like all these different things that have been submitted, or like the open investigations.
Yeah, there's like, I mean, I know they have a website dedicated to it, but like I said, over like the last 5 to 10 years, we have at least like five like false accusations towards us. And again, like I can say like we went through the process and we were found non-liable and not guilty, basically. So I don't know if it's
really good.
Yeah, I don't know if it's. I don't want to like paint it in this like negative light, but to me, what it seems like is like it's breeding like some sort of poor competition where it. I don't want to like obviously try to like name somebody that's actually not doing it, but to me it seems like people are just doing it to try to take advantage of the system and almost get like a leg up on other organizations to make them appear better, which I mean is really frankly it's not good, and that's not healthy, just amongst like Greek chapters and other organizations on campuses. Like that's not a healthy relationship to have, and unfortunately like it's just negative and continues to basically just throw a hard fork in the road where it just sets us back for that semester because that didn't allow us to recruit. It didn't allow us to do programming. It didn't allow us to participate in the BMP. It didn't allow our guys to have like official events on campus. So like it hurts a lot because I mean, in some people's eyes, like you're losing the value of, you're losing the value of what you're paying for and what you're a part of. Like it definitely hurts the fraternity itself and it hurts the undergrad chapter, but like there's so many aspects of it that work into it that make it even worse than like again, we weren't found liable for any of these things, but it definitely set us back a little bit, and that's been a challenge. But I think we're in a really good spot, like I said, and I mean we're definitely moving forward with a strong foot forward. So I'm really happy with how the undergrads handled the situation and how they were able to assist during the investigation and try to make sure campus was on top of it. So, but yeah, I think we're in a really good spot, and I'm sure Dom can attest to this too, or talk about it more if he wants to, but like, I really liked how he said like it's completely different than what we're used to, because obviously we were so used to structure. We were so used to everything being very well executed. Like you said, a well-oiled machine, Dom. I think that was a very good example, and that we did know, like we had done the system and we had done things for so long that like it was just like second nature to us. But like as you try to implement that into like chapters that don't really have that, or just in general to like larger campuses and larger universities, like it's harder to make those adjustments. So
yeah, definitely. And it's So like I definitely see it as hard because like the analogy I always like to give about Platteville and its ABC and undergraduates is it's like you're throwing a rock at a moving train. Nothing's going to happen. The rock is literally going to bounce off and you're going to hear a funny noise. But and what's so different is like with having that structure in the BMP is you knew exactly what you were going to do today. You know exactly what you had to do by the end of the semester. What you got to get done in order to get to the next step. Now, which the new BMP, which is great, it allows for a lot of change, like a lot of like, it's an open field, I guess is the best way to put it, because there's
Like
so
it's
much that you
flexible.
can do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
and
very tailored to the user.
Exactly, and there's a lot of chapters who are a lot busier.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wouldn't say like socially, but they have a very different dynamic than Platteville. Like Platteville.
Yeah.
I guess we were engineers and we were, we always forced ourselves to make time because what better time do we have to do besides crying with our homework? But, it's weird for in that instance because I had a call with BK today actually, talking about that stuff of, our VBND is doing great. Zach's ahead of the game. He has all the, the main events for MemDev ready to go. And, he was talking to me about should they do more? Is there something that we should do more a little bit, and which is great. And that's something I didn't think about because my thought process is, all right, all the bases are covered. That's it. That's all I got to worry about rather than it really gives that ability to how can you do more? And I think it is kind of creative in the sense because chapters that are going to get buck cups now are how are they going to overhaul the very, very bare minimum of their BMP, which I think is kind of creative for what Nationals lay the foundation for. But so it puts a lot more pressure on me of now I got to think of a lot of things. And I'm used to, I'm used to, all right, square, what goes in the square, easy. And now it's just, it's an open field of, well, you got your base events over there, but look, there's so much room for so much more. And, I struggle with that. I'm a structured kind of guy. I'm a very here's what you have, here's what you got to work with. That's about it. And so it's a very big change for me. And it's not that I'm like doing terrible. It's just I don't know like what more I can do. I don't realize the value of having so much freedom yet.
Yeah. I mean, even I think too, like, with us being on camp, like having the program and like up and running and like, passing down some of the events and stuff. Like there's events like MemDev related events that happen like almost every year on a dime that people are kind of looking forward to. And so like when you're going into these chapters that, are just restarting for like in your instance now, I'm like, they don't have a lot of that stuff built up to where like they can like fall back on knowing like, okay, like this event, we definitely need to do it because we know it's a hit. So you're having to be a lot more, well, I think that, and I think too, like, one of the biggest struggles with like just programming events in general that we see, like, we've all seen it too, is like you need to find events that are kind of tailored to everybody. Like, you're going to have events that people are not going to come to. And we think about like, okay, like on our little campus, like, if a lot of people don't come to this event, like if a majority of the chapter doesn't come to the event, like, that could be a lot of people. Whereas like, with big giant universities, like you need to kind of, you almost need to have more like over program because like you're going to have, I'm sure, lots of different, stuff that people are just not going to be interested in. And then if a lot of people don't show up to that, then that's like, a huge number of people, like, upwards of what, like 40 guys almost sometimes. So
and that's the struggle, especially like as an undergraduate and now as an ABC is I'm going to keep running back to the statement is, but how do you create buy-in? And that's a big change is get in with nationals is what they're really pushing for, is what it feels like is that they're really pushing for us on the ABC of how can we create more buy-in, how can we get more involvement from everyone, because there's so much more now rather than, oh, here it is, have a nice day.
Yeah. I wanted to circle back to what we were talking about earlier with like the Greek communities and stuff, because like we had Ty Meyer on in our previous episode, and he's our he's our VP of MDev, so like he fit right into all this conversation already, and kind of talked about what they're doing at Platteville. But he's also the current UGC president, so he was kind of talking about stepping into that role at a time when there's a lot of I would say like fractures, I guess, but like, I mean, even when we were there, like, I felt like the Greek community, like, we obviously people did socials with each other and whatnot, but like, it didn't seem like necessarily everybody was open to doing stuff with everybody. Like, you definitely had your groups that you kind of associated more with, and that in itself was like a big challenge for the UGC kind of group to work on. So I just going back to like just like your guys' chapters again, like I can't imagine how many Greek chapters on each of you guys' campuses. I'm sure it's like what 20 plus. More than that. I didn't mean to put you both on the spot, but I was just thinking about that. Like, let's see what we pull up here.
Sorority life. Let's check.
I'll look up too.
You want to take some bets? I'm guessing like
they don't.
I'm gonna say like they just don't have an amount on there.
Oh, 60 plus organizations.
Oh, okay, but not like specific to Greek life.
No.
Shit. Oh, my number probably went low then.
They have what are fraternities and sororities?
Well, some people don't know, man.
So it says there's 40 chapters at Pitt.
Holy crap! Okay, I shot
40 fraternity or sorority organizations.
But I think that just even more like solidifies the point, right? So like you guys are at these chapters that have 40 other chapters or 39 other chapters, and there's still that like sense of like fracturing. Like how do you get everybody together on this joined front? Like and Ty talked about it, and we had the same phrase when we were in undergrads too. But like the strength of the Greek community is always from everybody's buy-in, everyone's involvement. If once as these chapters start going down, like that just harms everybody in the process. And so like that's why it's, I think, going back to like what you were talking about earlier, like even more frustrating to a sense when there's a potential that it could be like other Greek life like causing some of these issues, because it's like well in the long run like you're gonna cause more trouble for just Greek life as a whole compared to just everybody being on the same page and having like that friendly competition and those like friendly rivalries rather than like as aggressive as it could be. But that still just blows my mind. Like hopefully Dom, you guys don't run into any issues with that. Like that's
no, like
no
they're
fun.
really good kids and they're doing great. I think they'll be fine. I think the only issue is we really got to create more retention things.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I mean, I think that's an issue across the board sometimes. And hopefully with this new MemDev program, like the fact that it's tailored more to the individual, that might, I would think that would probably help with retention numbers. And I know we're like keeping track of some of that stuff now for Buck Cup stuff, but like I'm curious to see like 3, 4, 5 years down the road, like what our numbers look like compared to like pre and post implementing this BMP program, because I'm sure I'm sure that we're going to see some more buy-in and people committing to stay longer with if they still have something that they can kind of work towards.
Yeah, definitely.
Dom, do you guys have to work around specific like recruiting timetables? So like obviously at Platteville we could recruit 365 days a year, but do you have like limitations at Madison where they limit like when you can do your formal recruitment process?
They have formal rush, which they have to participate in, but other than that, they're allowed 365.
Okay.
But it is a little bit harder with it being Madison. It's just, I think, just the type of campus. It's really a lot harder to do 365 because I think a couple of other chapters also do 365, but
because here at Pitt, so unfortunately, I think it really harms Greek life as a whole, but it obviously harms SigEp too. I think more than other chapters, since our whole thing is being able to recruit 365 days a year. But you cannot join Greek life until you are second semester, until your second semester on campus.
So, I didn't realize that.
And they're also limited to a window. It's like 10 days of when they can do all the recruiting and bidding, and that's like when bids can be accepted. So, which in and of itself is definitely quite the challenge, considering like you have to be on top of your recruitment. You have to have your recruitment pitch. You have to have your guys lined up of who you probably want to target, and you also need to have them and make sure like your events, you have them scheduled, like everything is ready to go. So which makes it extra challenging.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about like if that had applied to our current chapter, like we were talking with Ty last time, because like a lot of last year's class was like first semester freshmen that took on exec roles. Like they wouldn't have been able to take that on, and we would have been like, pretty screwed. And then even this year, we have like 3 guys that are first semester I think there's 2 guys actually that first year freshmen that took on some exec roles as well.
I get it too from like a camper's perspective of how like it probably gives, like their argument would be like, oh, it gives these people time to establish themselves and time to like adjust to college life, but also too like I feel like that is a very being able to recruit people who are new on campus is advantageous to us, because those people are probably like, they're looking for a sense of belonging. They're looking for a sense of community, and that's what we're offering as an organization.
Yeah. So, I think that first semester is so formative. I mean, that's why we do our BMS events like immediately to get those guys in, because we know it's like, those are the times you're making your lifelong college friends. Yeah.
I mean, again, for all of us, like I know Austin, I met you like my first semester on campus, and obviously we had just joined together. But yeah, it was at the time, like I really, like it was a decision. It was a big decision for me to join a fraternity, but like I always say, like it was definitely the best decision I ever made. One of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life. So I'm fortunate that we were able to join when we did, and that we all got to work together, and we were able to be a part of such a great organization. So
yeah, my Dom was the same way, right? Didn't she sign like maybe even before school technically started? Like right?
No, I was like middle of September, like September 12th.
Oh, I thought I thought you signed really early.
No, the only the person that signed before me was Ryan, but you did have events with like other people.
That's probably
I was gonna say, Dom, I kind of remember you being around like very early on.
I was like a couple weeks after, like I really pushed forward because I needed that sense of belonging, and I was more than happy to join something like that.
Yeah. So yes, again, this goes back to prove my point. Not being able to recruit new freshmen is definitely not advantageous for us and hurts us. But
and I think the argument that they would be making too is kind of stupid, because like I totally get, because like I was one of these people too. Like I joined, got like overly involved, and then like messed up my grades. Right, which I didn't want to do engineering anymore anyway, but whatever. So I get that there is that potential that you like, jump in too much. But like at the same time, we're set up to kind of help guide and mentor and like teach those life skills to help set you up for that future success. So like if that was one of the things that they were worried about, like we had our programming, had our scholar programming and stuff to like help people get back on track. Like I don't know. That's kind of a stupid argument that they're making, but whatever. Gosh, but yeah, that's no fun that you have to recruit under those circumstances. But at the same time, too, I feel like I could almost see that being somewhat of maybe not a benefit is the right word, but like I'm thinking like a lot of the guys that we recruit in the spring. Oh, I'd have to look at these numbers, I guess. Actually, now maybe I'm just making up something off the top of my head, but I think like the people that came and like joined in the spring are like, especially for us, like we were probably hitting them hard in the fall, but like they weren't ready to make that commitment, and then when we pulled them finally in the spring, like they're more. I shouldn't say more committed, but like they're committed guys that we probably can rely on that are gonna stay in because they hit that buy-in at that later point. Whereas like I think we can talk about it as like recruitment guys. Like there are some guys that you recruit in the fall and then like they fall off already before that second semester. Going back to the retention kind of talk, like I don't know if that would help with like those guys are going to be more bought in than maybe some of the guys that are like just testing the water with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's maybe that's something else we look at when we crunch the numbers down. Okay, let's talk. We talked about Pitt a lot. Let's talk about like Wisconsin Theta AVC stuff now, because like, yes, you've been involved with Pitt stuff, but like we've kind of brought you in to help with a lot of stuff. I mean, you were very important with helping write up the most current set of bylaws that we're kind of operating under, and I've been trying to like get you in for a while. There were circumstances that didn't fully lead to that happening, but like when we had some special elections come up, and I was like, oh, like this is the perfect time for Quarberg to come in. He's doing all this extra recruiting already. Like you're perfect for this recruitment role that we're looking to fill. And like I knew you were going to be the one that I was pushing for to kind of take on the recruitment role that we have now, because like I said, you're already kind of doing that stuff like with all these with your other chapter. So talk to us a bit about that, because like obviously you and I have our conversations about what our recruitment stuff is looking like, or like what our plan I guess kind of is. But yeah, I don't know. Just talk to us about the recruitment stuff a bit.
Yeah, I think one of the most exciting things too about doing recruitment right now is there's a lot of awesome things that are going on at the undergraduate level at Platteville.
Yeah.
In the AVC, the thing at the very front would definitely be our housing project, which is super exciting.
Which you are also heavily involved in. You
yes.
mentioned at the beginning, but like you were one of the people that, the group that we're working with, Luminat, you were one of the people that brought them kind of to the table, to the discussion, and had those talks with them and stuff to get them to a point that they'd be willing to, work with us potentially. So, they are now, but, so yeah, like you've been heavily involved with that as well. So that's why I say like, you weren't like fully like, you weren't on the board for the longest time, but like you were still in the trenches working on stuff with us. But yeah, anyway, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. But yeah, I think that was one of the things that definitely inspired me the most to kind of get back in and get involved, because I felt like as an undergrad, like I was just so passionate about the organization and like what we could accomplish. And I know like that was one of the biggest things, which again is a unique challenge and a unique aspect of being at a smaller campus and being a smaller chapter, right? Is our facility, our chapter facility. And like, obviously we had a chapter house, like it served its purpose. Like it's where we hung out as like friends. It's where we hung out, at homework. Like there's a lot of things that happened in our house, but I think being able to now win back-to-back Beahan Cups, like what we've accomplished as a fraternity at Platteville in 25 years. And that's also my shameless plug for our 25-year banquet that's coming up in October, which is also very exciting. But Yeah, I mean, we're in a really good spot as an ABC, as an undergraduate chapter. Like, again, we've accomplished so many things, and being able to see like this slow process towards building and designing a chapter facility is awesome.
Yeah,
And I
I
really
see it
want
as
to.
like, sorry to cut you off again, but like
No,
talking about what you were talking about, like I see it as like that next step to like
yeah,
elevate us to the next point. And like you said, we're at like the perfect time to really be investing in this and doing what we're doing because the chapter, the undergrads have been doing an awesome job. They've been knocking out of the park with everything that they've been doing. We've got that nationals kind of recognition now. Like we were always kind of on that outside, like like Mr. Tom Barn would say, like that best chapter that never won the Buck Cup, and then we got our back to back ones, and now we're like up here on nationals list of like, oh, like we can rely on them to do stuff. Like we got the hard workers, we got the guys that'll go out to all these other chapters and do what we've been helping spread what we've been doing. And again, hopefully the three-peat this year with I'm knocking on wood, but the three-peat at this year's conclave. But like I said, like where's that next step? Like what's the next thing we're doing? And it is that house, like having a chapter
yeah,
facility. Because obviously we've had the house before, but like this is taking it to like an entirely new level, and I think we've talked about it a little bit, but I don't know if it's not spoiling anything, but like we're gonna have a lot of those plans and like those details at 25-year banquet as well
yeah,
for people to see. So like that's gonna be the first time that a lot of people are saying like, oh, like you guys have some, or like we have some pretty big plans at least for like what we're hoping to accomplish with this house and like the different needs that's going to meet for the chapter. So yeah, like I said, I think it just takes us to that next level
yeah, I
to
agree.
continue pushing for what we're doing.
And it definitely sets us apart too on campus.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, like considering like other fraternities. I mean, obviously, everyone had like most fraternities and sororities have a house, right? But being able to have like a state of the art chapter home where our brothers can go and utilize the SLC, have like a large potential gathering space to just hang out with their brothers and do chapter events. Like that is something that is so important. And I think that we've almost like lacked in our 25 years since becoming a chapter, right? But it also signifies like our good partnership that we've had with the university and hopefully continue to have with the university, because we wouldn't go out and spend all this money on a chapter facility if we didn't think we were a successful chapter, if we didn't think we're going to, continue to see success. Like that is one of the most important things about this project as well, is that we're signifying all these aspects and we're continuing to want to pour these resources into our chapter at the University of Platteville and the chapter facility to make sure like everyone who joins the chapter has the same opportunities we did and continues to have probably even better opportunities than we did as undergraduate members, right? But that's why I get so passionate about it. Is like it's just so exciting, and it was something that I wanted as an undergraduate. Obviously we didn't get to see it come to fruition, but being able to be a part of the build committee and being on the build committee is super exciting. And I'm very passionate about it, and very passionate about like hopefully designing something that is going to suit the needs of what the undergraduate chapter needs and wants at the time that it does end up getting constructed. So I think it's very exciting. But yeah, also like being able to utilize and capitalize on these things to hopefully pique the interest for people that potentially have not been on the ABC in a while. Um, Hoping to reach out in the next couple weeks to make sure like we make people aware of what is going on right now in the ABC, and again all these exciting things that are coming up. So I think it's a really good time to be a part of the ABC and basically continue our legacy of what we did as undergraduates and what we can continue to do for undergraduates on the ABC. So it's exciting. Like I enjoy giving back, and I'm glad that I am in on both ABC boards and been able to give hopefully back some of my good time and good talents that I've developed, and hopefully it leads us to some good spots on both of them. So
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we've been trying to get you on for a little bit, and it was just like some stuff happened that I won't go into,
no, you're good.
But now that like you're actually or like you're officially on the board, like it's good to bring in all that expertise because, like I said, you've been doing quite a lot for just as almost as a side project, I guess. But like you were obviously still giving back, but yeah, I mean, I think 25-year bank, like that's the other thing. Like we're setting up our recruitment plans and stuff at the perfect time with 25-year banquet coming up too, because like Chris and our 25-year banquet committee have been putting in so much work to like get this advertised, get it set up. We've poured in a lot of money into it. It's going to be awesome. Like obviously we have a little more insight because we're involved with the board, so we know all the like behind the scenes kind of stuff. But there's a lot of cool things that we're planning on doing, and like I said, like it'll be good. Like now is the perfect time because we can get people back in and rebought in with like what's been going on with the chapter in this time, and obviously like we've being like the secretary and like trying to get communications and stuff out. Like that's always my goal is to show and highlight everything that we've been doing. But you don't always see that with Just a newsletter I send out quarterly. like you're not, unless you're actually involved and you're coming to the meetings and all that stuff, you're not going to hear what's going on all the time. Or if you're not following the social media pages, so you should follow those too. We got to get the plugs in there.
All of our shameless plugs.
All of our shameless plugs, but like I said, like we've been partnering to figure out how best we can like do our recruitment this year, and like one of the big things I think we talked about it in last episode too, or even the episode before, but like we have like discounts for like if you're an AVC member going to banquet, like you get some reduced costs. So that's already an incentive to sign on and just like get involved. I mean, we pass a lot of stuff with our bylaws that kind of combat and get a lot of those older guys that have been away. Like we've, there's reduction, like pretty big reductions, I'd say, on dues costs for people that have been like out of the loop. So yeah, there's just, like you said, there's just so many good things going on right now. And the chapter, the things the undergrads are doing is awesome. The things we're doing on the AVC side is awesome. Like everyone's kind of working in clockwork to help Wisconsin Theta be at its absolute best. And we're just all cylinders running, man. We're everyone's killing it right now.
And we're always willing to accept new members too, regardless of how long you've been.
Anyone that's listening, feel free.
Reach out to Quarberg.
I'll sponsor $1 to whoever joins based off this episode.
And reach out to Quarberg and reach out to Pingle. We made it so easy to sign up too. We have this nice like website. You just go in and pay. Like you don't have to fill out any stupid forms, like anything. It's so much easier.
You don't gotta send in a check.
And if you sign on now when this episode goes out, you'll be able to vote at the annual meeting on April 26th.
That sounds right.
Yes, on April 26th, you'll be able to vote at that meeting and let your opinions be heard. So yeah, like we already said, like it's just a great time to get involved now and with everything that's going on. Or again, if you don't want to get involved with Wisconsin Theta, go join up with Dom and BK and everybody that's at Madison. They're always looking for new people as well.
Always need more.
Or you could do both. You could do both, like some of our guys too. So like
I do 2 chapters as well.
Yeah, like it's nice to give back and do some stuff for an organization that did so much for all of us, I think. Mm-hmm. So just even if it's a little something. I mean, like we've been working on Dawson's been another one that's been heavily involved with our recruitment stuff because he's been kind of doing it in the past. But like, we're we can make you a new position. If you want to do something with the AVC, we will find a job for you. Like, it can be the smallest thing. I'm looking for social media managers. If you want to do that, come on. You could just do one site. So yeah, like we'll find something for you. If you're not sure like what you fully want to do, you're still trying to figure it out. Like we'll find something. You don't gotta stress. We've been going for about an hour here. I don't know. Is there anything else that we didn't hit on yet that we want to talk about, gents?
I don't think so. It's funny because we have like a little list here of all these things to talk about, and we put at the very bottom, goals for the future for you, Quarberg. But each time you've talked about with Wisconsin Theta, or you've talked about with Pennsylvania Gamma, that you've already incorporated your goals and what you want to do, and you're already outlining of like, here we are, here's what I want, here's my hopes. And so you're definitely more than welcome to keep talking about that again, but like, you've been phenomenal already at highlighting that point.
I guess the only thing I'd like add to just wrap it up would obviously be like, whenever my time ends at Penn Gamma, hopefully they're in a better position than when I started it, right? Because that's like the ultimate goal, is just making sure that they're in a good position, and that it makes me feel like I did my job, like if they're able to succeed once I'm done. Hopefully that's not for a while, because I really enjoy it. And then as far as like here at Platteville, I think the biggest goal for me, like personally, obviously would be to help grow the AVC, but also seeing that housing project come to fruition, I think that's going to be like probably one of the most surreal moments, when hopefully one day I'm able to like obviously get back to Platteville. I'll be there this fall for the 25-year banquet, but hopefully following that banquet, like setting foot in the chapter facility, our brand new chapter facility for the first time. And like, that will really be, I think, one of the best moments of my post-graduation, like SigEp career, would definitely be seeing that project come to fruition, and kind of feeling like I played some sort of a role in hopefully like designing that house, and hopefully like trying to capture like everything that I wanted as an undergraduate, what the undergraduates want currently, like how that facility is going to hopefully suit our needs for the future and the foreseeable future, and making sure that we ensure that, again, as many people as possible that want to experience what Greek life is, what SigEp is, have that opportunity, and that facility is able to allow them to foster those relationships and build those good, leadership, communication skills, and have that sense of community, right, in that facility. So I think that would be definitely the coolest thing and the most surreal thing once that facility is built. So I'm really looking forward to it. I know it's going to be a few more years, but it's definitely exciting, and it makes me excited for the future. So
yeah, I agree. Going to like the breaking ground ceremony,
yes,
and just knowing that some of the housing discussions started when we were undergrads too.
Oh
like,
yeah,
it's been in the works for quite a while, and at that time, trying to get buy into the house too. I mean, like,
oh yeah,
like trying to convince people, like, you're obviously investing now, but like, again, seeing that full circle, like, just fruition, and seeing it through is just going to be awesome as well. Dom, you got anything else you want to talk about before we head out?
No, I think I'm good here, to be honest with you.
Okay. Being that I've been working on the newsletter, which should be going out relatively soon, hopefully around the time this episode goes out, there's a couple of things I want to talk about or like highlight real quick before we go. Like we already talked about annual meeting, April 26th. I believe it's it will be in the afternoon. I don't think we have a set time yet, but if you sign up for your AVC membership, you can come to that meeting and vote. For new board spots, I think there are like five people up. Dom is our elections chairman, and Quarberg is running for one of those roles again. So it's important that you come on and come cast your votes. The same day, that April 26th, I know the undergrads are they've started this annual golf outing that they're doing as a philanthropy event. I don't know if all the details are out yet, but again, hopefully by the time this goes out, there's a Facebook post that we've got up somewhere to sign up. I know last year was a big hit, and a lot of guys come back for it, and we kind of moved annual meeting around a little bit so that we could kind of accommodate to do more of the golfing. So hopefully you see that link and you sign up if you want to come back and play some golf, and then go to the meeting afterwards. And then 25-year banquet. I mean, the save the dates have already gone out. I think sign up is starting relatively soon. There'll probably be an announcement about it as well. So lots of good stuff going on for sure. What else? What else can I say here? Follow the socials, like we already said in the episode. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We also brought this up last time because we got a decent amount of views on these episodes, and not everyone subscribed, because I can see. And we talked the data. We can see the data, and we talked with Ty last time because the undergrads I gave my flowers to Robert, our current comms guy, but they're trying to get heavily involved in the video space, and they're going to try to start posting stuff to the YouTube channel, and it's going to be this YouTube channel. So you're going to have our podcasts on here that you can get the notifications for, but you also get some videos from the undergrads kind of showing what they're doing day to day. So again, it's just another way to get wrapped up with following what's going on with the chapter. If you subscribe and watch those videos when they come on, turn on the bell for notifications. Alrighty, Quarberg, it was great to have you back on. I mean, like we said at the beginning, it's been 2 years almost, and so it'll be fun to follow this up again, hopefully before 2 years, maybe 1 year from now, and just kind of see what the rest of our 2025 looked like going into 2026 with these positions. So it was great to have you back on to chat with us. Thank you for coming, and I'm excited to keep working with you.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Of course,
absolutely.
Alrighty, well, that's the end of the episode. We'll talk to you guys in the next episode that we're doing, and everybody have a good night, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're at. We'll see you later.
Take care.